Good evening. We're learning Maseches Kesubos Daf Vav. I will get it right on the first time, one time. I will. We're learning Maseches Kesubos Daf Vav, and we are 5 lines down. We are in the midst of a sugya of whether or not it is in fact halachically permissible for a couple, for a basula, to have tashmish shemitah for the first time on Shabbos, out of consideration and concern for possibly for Hilchos Shabbos, possibly for the Cheshbonos, like we saw earlier, a whole host of possibilities. And at the end of yesterday's Gemara, at the top of Daf Vav Amud Aleph, we saw that there seems to be a machlokas between Rav and Shmuel about what Rav and Shmuel said. Rav said in his place it was mutter and everywhere else it's aser, and Shmuel said no, in his place it's mutter and everybody else says it's aser. But now we have to question the shita of Rav. We're 4 or 5 lines down. The Gemara says Rav Shari. How can it be, even according to the version of Rav, where Rav says it's permissible for a couple to be together for the first time on Shabbos? How can he say such a thing? After all, in his name, the Amar of Simi Bar Chizkiya Mishmei de Rav, Hai Misuchraya Dinizaisa, Aser Lehadoka B'Yamatava. Now we have spigots on the bottom of our barrels, on the bottom of things that need a spigot. But what they did is they took a rag and they would allow it to get saturated, and they would use it to plug up the hole. And it wasn't perfect; it would still drip slowly, but it did a reasonable job of plugging it up. The problem is, as Rashi highlights, is that when you take this this cloth and you put it into the open space at the bottom, you're squeezing. Rashi calls it schita, which we know is certainly going to be problematic. So the Gemara therefore assumes that if Rav holds that it's aser to put back lahadoka b'yom tava, to put it back on yontiv, then maybe similarly it should be aser to have tashmish hamita, because just like putting the rag back is schita, so to tashmish hamita is going to be a problem of creating a chabura. Says the Gemara, behahu, in that case of the suchriya dinazaisa, afilu Reb Shimon mode, even Reb Shimon would agree. The Abai v'Rav Adamar Tarvai mode Reb Shimon b'sik reshe v'lo yamus. Reb Shimon agrees that when the result is definite, like it is in the case of the rag with the barrel, then everyone agrees. Even Reb Shimon, who's mekel by davar shenim miskavein, does not allow for that action to be done when it's a definite result. Just to make sure we understand the phrase, psik reshe v'lo yamus is actually a rhetorical question. Psik reshe v'lo yamus, you're going to cut off its head and it's not going to die. In other words, action X will lead to result Y automatically uninterrupted. So what we're saying here is, how can it be that this is a psik reshe v'lo yamus? But you have to really know that it's a rhetorical question. Otherwise, it looks like the chicken's not dying if you read it straight without the intonation. So that's when we see psik reshe v'lo yamus, it means that the result is definite. So therefore, by the way, there should be a side question here, which Rashi highlights over here. So yeah, what about tashmish hamita? Why isn't tashmish hamita definite? So Rashi gives us some insight. Take a look at Rashi. Dibur hamaschil moder Rav Shimon aval kan, but here by tashmish hamita yesh shebekin behatoya kedilakaman. There are those who know how to have tashmish hamita without breaking the basulim, and therefore it's not considered a psik reshe v'lo yamus. And therefore, the case of the case of the suchriya dinazaisa is not comparable to our case of tashmish hamita on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, but still, Rav has a very difficult time being lenient because Amar Reb Chia bar Ashi Amar Rav. What does Rav say? Halacha ki Reb Yehuda. So if Rav holds like it's beautiful, you can make a distinction between the case of the barrel and our case because of Hatoya. It's a great distinction. But it says the Gemara, if Rav really holds like Reb Yehuda, as it seems to be that he does here black on white, so then Rabbi Yehuda holds davar shenim miskavein is aser. That even if it's an unintended result, it's still aser to have tashmish hamita. The Gemara continues with some quotes that not only does the Shmuel hold that, does Rav hold the way he does, but Rav Chanan bar Ami Amar Shmuel halacha ki Reb Shimon. So we see a very clear line of who holds what. We know Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda, and we know that Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon. And then just another iteration of this presentation, for Rav Chia bar Avin masne labelo gavri. There are those who say that this wasn't presented by anyone other than the Amoraim themselves. Rav Amar halacha. So therefore, the Gemara is now bothered with a second question. We tried to ask our first question on Rav from the case of the suchriya dinazaisa, and we said not a good question, not comparable to our case because there's hatoya. Now we're trying to ask a different question, which is, hey, how could Rav ever say it's mutter if he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, who holds davar shenim miskavein is aser? So says the Gemara 2/3 of the way down on Vav Amud Aleph, le'olam Rav ki Rabbi Yehuda svirle. Really, Rav does hold like Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda holds davar shenim miskavein is aser. So how then could Rav ever say that tashmish hamita for a basula is mutter on Shabbos? So you'll remember that yesterday when we presented this shaila, there were 2 versions of the question. One of them focused on Dam Mifkad Pakid, and the other focused on Dam Chibure Michbar. So let's go through both of them. Lahachlish. Now, how does Rav understand Rabbi Yehuda? Lahachlish Nadam or Dam Mifkad Pakid. According to the shita that says the blood is basically just waiting there for Tashmish Shamita. Mikal Kilu Eitzel Pesach. So because the blood is the ikar, the Pesach, the Basulim that's being severed during Tashmish Shemitah is simply Mekalkel, and Mekalkel is mutter. So therefore, Rav can say, even though I hold like Rabbi Yehuda, Mekalkel of the Pesach is mutter. And 8 lines from the bottom, Lahachlish Nadam Ardam Chibure Michbar, according to the one who says that the blood is evidence of the fact that there was a chabura being made, okay, but mekalkel bechaburu, it's still considered mekalkel, and it would be mutter. So Rav, it's not a problem for Rav to hold like Rabbi Yehuda. We have multiple ways. Multiple ways of explaining the shita of Rav. So far, Rav has withstood the challenges of the Gemara. Next question of the Gemara. Masiv Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda asks a question from a brisa. And the brisa reads as follows. If there's a young girl, prepubescent, she has never gotten her period, and she gets married. Beis Shammai omrim that when she gets married, nosnin la arba leilos. She's allowed to have tashmish hamita for 4 nights in a row. Any blood that we see, we assume is just dam besulim and not dam nida. L'may nafkamina, dam besulim is not dam nida deoraisa. It's a din derabanan that we're not with her. With a woman who has dam nida, but it's with dam basulim. So therefore, the Gemara says they have 4 nights together. It depends until she's healed from the damage that took place because of the tashmish hamita. That's part 1 of the brisa. And here's part 2. He gives manaliros v'neses. Let's say that a woman does tip, or a young girl in this case has started to get her period, and then they were together. They are only allowed to rely on the blood being dam basulim only that first night. So let's call that Wednesday night. That's the night they get married. He says you get 4 days. Let's do the math. What does the Mishnah on Daf Beis say? You get married on a Wednesday. So it's Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. That's 4 nights. So Beis Hillel says that if she's already starting to have her period and she gets married, so the Dam Basulim by Beis Shammai is only 1 day. Beis Hillel says it's 4 days. Now we can already see a crafting of the question on the top of Daf Vav Amud Beis. My lab, isn't it the case to Ilo Baal that if they did not yet have Tashmish Hamita on, let's say, Wednesday night or Thursday night, that matzi ba'il afilu b'Shabbos, it's implied by the shita of Beis Hillel, because Beis Hillel says that we can assume that for the first 4 nights, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, that any dam that we see is dam b'sulim. So that's implied that, let's say for whatever reason they didn't have tashmish hamita Wednesday and Thursday, it's implied that they could have tashmish hamita Friday night, which makes it seem like it's mutter, which is great for the shita who holds that it's mutter, but a question against those who hold that it's not. So Amar Rava, that's not a good question. Lo, that's not the implication. Lebar mi Shabbos. It's to exclude Shabbos, meaning even though Beis Hillel says that once a woman starts to get her period, that she has 4 nights that she can be with her husband, starting with when she gets married, and we treat all that blood as dam basulim, that does not mean that she can have tashmish hamita on Friday night. Says the Gemara, Amar le Abaye, take a look at the text of the brisa. V'ha'ad motzei Shabbos arba leilos ktani. Beis Hillel could not have been more clear. He said, you have until, we know the rules. You get married on a Wednesday. You have until Saturday night, and he counts it out for you. It's 4 nights. That clearly implies that tashmish hamita is allowed on Friday night. Says the Gemara, no, it doesn't. Elama Rava kishabal. Oh, no, it's because they already had tashmish hamita on Wednesday or Thursday. Therefore, Friday night is mutter. Says the Gemara, well, ikishabal, my kamashmalan. If they already had tashmish hamita, of course they're allowed to be together on Friday night. The whole concern was chabura. The chabura already took place on Wednesday. Of course they could be together. What kind of chiddush is that? It's an unnecessary brisa. So says the Gemara, that's not true. What would Rava respond? 5 lines down, Vav Amud Beis, Kamash Malan, Deshar the Mival b'Shabbos Kiddush Shmuel. He holds that it's mutter to have tashmish hamita on Shabbos like Shmuel. What does Shmuel say? Says the Gemara, Damar Shmuel, Pirza dechuka, mutter likanis b'Shabbos. Let's say that you have a wall that is made out of stones, and there's already a hole in the wall. There's already a pirza, but it's dechuka. For your size, you could crawl through the hole. You could fit. But as you climb through, you're going to be dislodging some of the rocks from the wall as you climb through. What does Shmuel say? Mutter. Even though you're Mashayar Tzeroros, you're going to cause for some of the rocks to become dislodged and fall out. What does Shmuel hold? Shmuel holds that by Tzeroros, by the wall. We can extrapolate what is Rava's chiddush within Beis Hillel, that yes, you're right. The case was Kishaval. They had Tashmish Hamita, let's say, on Wednesday night and Thursday night. Can they also have Tashmish Hamita on Friday night? Yes, they can. What about the fact that there may be more blood or more skin that's torn in Friday night's Tashma Shemitah? Don't worry, we pass like Shmuel. That even if there are some tzuroros, when a person crawls to the wall and rocks will come to sludge, that's mutter. So too over here, that was the chiddush of Beis Hillel, according to Rava, and therefore the question that we asked, hey, it seems from this brisa that it's mutter to have Tashma Shemitah on Friday night. No, it doesn't seem that way for the first time, only for subsequent occurrences. Next question of the Gemara. Masiv Rav Yosef, this is a throwback all the way to Brachos. Chasan pater mi kriyas shema laila harishon ad motzei Shabbos im lo asamaisa. Halacha l'maisa, it's really not halacha l'maisa, but the halacha is quoted this way in the Gemara and in Shulchan Aruch, that a chasan is pater from the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema on the night he gets married, and until Motzei Shabbos, im lo asamaisa, if they did not yet have Tashma Shemitah. Says the Gemara, my lav the tarid de boilim mival. Doesn't that mean that the reason why he's pater from Kriyas Shema is because he has yet to have Tashma Shemitah, and therefore it's implied that even on Friday night he could have Tashma Shemitah? How do I know? Because he's pater from Kriyas Shema. If he's pater from Kriyas Shema, it means he's tarid b'mitzvah, that he might be having Tashma Shemitah. And because that's the case, he's pater from Kriyas Shema, they're inextricably bound. So if you're saying he's pater from Kriyas Shema, l'chorei, he's allowed to have Tashma Shemitah. So it says the Gemara, my love the tarid by the vival. Says the Gemara, no, I'm only by love. That's not correct. The tarid de lo boil. He's upset that he didn't yet have Tashma Shemitah. So we don't yet know that they're able to. He's just stressed that he hasn't had Tashma Shemitah yet. So it could be that for as long as he doesn't have Tashma Shemitah, he's not allowed to say Shema. Until you have Tashma Shemitah. But that doesn't mean it's mutter on Shabbos. He's tarid b'mitzvah. So you're right, he can't have Tashma Shemitah on Shabbos, but he's still pater from Shema. So says the Gemara, Elamayata, if what you're saying is that he's simply stressed, and that's why he's pater from Kriyas Shema, well, let's talk about something that has nothing to do with halacha. Let's talk about Tavas Sfina Bayam. You're standing on the shore, you're a Russian oligarch, and they're towing your yacht. All of a sudden, you're pater from Kriyas Shema because it's so stressful that they've taken your boat. That's ridiculous. Hachanami de pater? Because I'm stressed, that's not a reason to be pater from Kriyas Shema. And even if you want to say that maybe we should be pater simply because of stress, not because of tarid b'mitzvah, but tirda stam, says the Gemara, V'ha'amar Rabbi Abba bar Zavda amar Rav, Avel, ain't tirda gadol mizu. You're emotionally suffering. If somebody died in the family, chayiv b'chol ha'mitzvos amuros b'Torah. He's not pater because of tirda, and he lost a family member. A boat? Of course you're not pater because of tirda. The only exception by the Avel, and this is a parenthetical comment of the Gemara, is chutz min atfilin shenemar behen pe'er. Fine, that's a side comment. But the point is that we see that there is no greater tirda than the loss of a loved one. Yet we see that he's chayiv in all of the mitzvos in the Torah. An Avel has to do all the mitzvos in the Torah. So therefore, we also see that by the boat sinking, we also see that he's going to still be chayiv in mitzvos, and therefore, who cares if he's upset about the fact that he didn't have Tashma Shemitah yet? That's not tirda the mitzvah. That's stam tirda, and that is not a reason to be exempt. Ella says the Gemara halfway down on Vav Amid Beis, and now we really begin to see a real divide. Ella Amar Rava Tanoihi. Really, you're right. Tashma Shemitah on Friday night for the first time for a woman is a machlokes tanoim. Here's what the machlokes is. The Tanachada says, Im lo asamaisa b'rishon, if they don't have Tashma Shemitah the first night, which is Wednesday night, pater af b'sheni, then he will be pater on the next night. B'sheni pater af b'shlishi, and he'll be pater from Kriyas Shema even on the next night, and that's Friday night. So if there was no Tashmish Wednesday night or Thursday night, he's still pater on that next night, on Friday night, which implies, assumes the Gemara, that she is therefore allowed to have Tashmish Shemitah. The Tanya Idach, another brisa writes, Rishon V'Sheni pater. Yeah, on Wednesday night and on Thursday night he's pater. However, Shlishi chayiv. Once we get to Friday night, he's chayiv in Shema. Why? Because it's usher to have Tashma Shemitah on Friday night. So therefore, there's no tirda in the mitzvah. You can't be together anyways. So this is a machlokes in the Tanaim, one side seeming to imply that it's mutter to have Tashma Shemitah on Friday night, and the other brisa arguing. Abaye gives a brilliant response to this seemingly clear machlokes. No. Hasam nami b'tirda pligi. There, all we're talking about is tirda. All we're talking about is whether or not your tirda status exempts you from whether or not it exempts you from Shema. But no, it is absolutely not mutter to have Tashma Shemitah. Rava then continues with another brisa. V'hani tanoi ki hani tanoi. Rava believes that his brisa was still good, though Abaye didn't agree, but Rava gives another possible response. And he says, Hani tanoi ki hani tanoi, Tanya, hakones esabesula lo yivol b'tchila b'Shabbos. This isn't an implied case. This is a very, very explicit case. We have a brisa that says that a man who marries a basula, they are not allowed to have tashmish hamita on Friday night. V'chachamim matirim, very clear. Man chachamim, who's the sheet of the chachamim who allow for tashmish hamita to take place on Friday night? Amar Rabba, that's Reb Shimon Hida Amar Davar Sheni Miskabein Mutter. Very, very good. That's a very, very clear machlokes. We have a machlokes Reb Shimon and the Tanakama. Omar Le Abaye, I don't understand what you're talking about. How can you say, even according to Reb Shimon, that Reb Shimon is the Chachamim and therefore it's mutter to have Tashmish Hamita on Friday night? How can you say that? The Hamod Reb Shimon b'psik Reisha v'lo Yamos. Reb Shimon agrees. Now Rashi gave us the answer on the previous Amud. We know what's coming already. But Reb Shimon agrees that when the action that you're doing guarantees that a malacha will occur, then it's not mutter. That's not davar sheni miskabein mutter. That's psik reishe v'lo yamos. That's a case that even Reb Shimon would say is not allowed. So Amar Le, what does Rava say back to Abaye? It's a little bit of a knock. Lo ka'alalu bavlim she'ein bekin b'hataya. The people from Babel, they don't know how to do hataya during Tashmish Hamita. So hataya is basically it's intercourse that avoids the severing of the basulim. That's hataya, and therefore, because there is hataya, so therefore it's not considered psik reishe v'lo yamos, and therefore it returns back to the category of davar sheni miskavein, and the chachamim are Reb Shimon. Davar sheni miskavein is mutter, and therefore the chachamim hold that it's mutter to have tashmish hamita on Friday night. Says the Gemara, ela yesh bakim b'hataya. There are people who are bakim. Says the Gemara, im kain that it's true that there is hataya. So then toreid lama. Then what's all the tirda about? She's not going to become a nida. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to navigate. Everything is fine and well. Says the Gemara, you're right. The concern, the tirda is l'she'eino baki, for someone who doesn't know what he's talking about. Then says the Gemara, yomru baki mutter she'ein baki aser. Maybe we should say that for a baki, so then it's mutter because he knows how to do ataya. And for Eino Baki, for someone who doesn't know what he's doing, okay, then for that person, it's aser to have tashmish hamita. Why don't we make a distinction? Says the Gemara, because rov b'kin, and most people really do know how. We're not going to make this distinction in halacha, and really it's davar sheni miskavein, and really it's mutter. Says the Gemara, if in fact it's mutter, Amar le Rava bar Rav Chanan le Abaye, elamei ata shoshvin in lama. Mapa lama. So Rashi tells us what's going on here. Rashi dibra maschil shoshvinin, 3 lines into the wide lines, 12, 15 lines from the bottom of the page. He says, what were the shoshvinin? The shoshvinin were friends that would make sure that that nothing shady was taking place. Rashi explains, because we know that there are people who know how to have tashmish hamita without drawing out blood. Then there would be one representative from the husband's side, one representative from the bride's side. That they shouldn't come up with some type of trick. Maybe he wants to make some money on the deal, so he'll find some blood. Really, he did ataya and he just poured blood from somewhere else on the sheet. So what we had the shoshvinin for was because the shoshvinin were there to make sure that people stayed honest. So then what's the point of staying? Why would they do that? If they're bikin, then what's the point of the shoshvinin? And not only that, but mappa as well. Rashi says mappa as levarer sabasulim. So therefore, why do we have to have this special clean sheet? What's going on here? Amar le hasam, in regards to hataya shema yur v'yovet. You're right. When a person is capable of doing hataya, you're right that there's not going to be blood. What we're concerned about is if in fact there was dam of any kind, then it may get lost. Last question for the night. Masiv Rav Ami hamapis morsa b'Shabbos. This is popping a pimple. A person who's mapis morsa on Shabbos im lasos la pechayev. If the reason why you're popping the pimple is because you specifically want to tear open the skin, that's a big problem. But if it's just to remove the content of the pimple, so then pater. So what do we see from here? Should be mutter to have tashmish hamita because it's mutter to be mapis morsa. A good assumption. Says the Gemara, not a good assumption, and we'll stop with this line. Amud Aleph, Hasam pakid v'akir. Over there, by the case of the lecha, Rashi points out pakid. Rashi says kinos biyachad. All of the contents of the pimple are in one place. V'akir kulo min abasar v'omed latseis. It's actually separate from the body. So the pus that's inside the pimple is actually separate from the body. It's trapped by the body, but it's separate from the body. But hacha, by the blood, it's pakid v'lo akir. Really, the blood is part of the body. And if there's no tashmish hamita, it doesn't stand alone like a pimple. The blood that's there by tashmish hamita will only come about through the chabur of tashmish hamita. And therefore, we're still not yet 100% clear, at least Abai and Rabbi still have a machlokes as to whether or not it's mutter to have tashmish hamita on Friday night. Wishing you all a beautiful night.